In the previous video, we just created a simple component. We loaded into our. I'm just going to write a simple factorial example. There will be no more counters. There will be only one. Go to my index.js. Whenever the value is changed of my component, okay, the function is getting. This is how useMemo works. So guys, I'm sorry, I had to break that useMemo video into two parts. Okay, so and this is going to be our second part. If you're not seen our first part, please go back to our previous video because that is the part one of our video. We gave a simple example how we were doing this. In this video, I'll be just taking you through another example of useMemo because this is, as I said, this is an important concept. Even though we are using it sometimes, okay, not every time, we have still to see what the con of this useMemo is. But for now, we'll simply just check why we are going to use and how we are going to use useMemo in a different way, in a different approach, a different example altogether. So let's quickly, without wasting any time, in a previous video, we just created a simple component. We loaded into our app.js. Okay. And in this video, basically, I'm just going to write a simple factorial example. So a recursive function. If you don't know what is a recursive function, you don't need to go through that hassle. It is very easy. Recursive function is basically the function which calls itself. Simple. But if we are called the function it calls itself, it will go into an infinite loop. There should be a trigger where we are breaking that recursion. We are going to see in this example. So it's not going to be one of the tough videos. It is going to be one of the simple videos. In this basically example, we will quickly add one counter. Okay, I love counters, so you have to bear with me for the counters. So I'll just quickly add h4 counter 1, a simple one. There will be no more counters. There will be only one counter. I'll just add it as count. So if I'm having use state, count and set count and use state 0, right? And I'll just add a button on click set count handle click. Let me add a different function, increase count value. Handle click. If I'm too fast, I would ask you to please just slower this video for some time. Set count plus 1. We did nothing. We added a simple count. So my component is reloading continuously, and that's it. Okay, simple. Now I will write a factorial function. I can write a function here, or let me quickly try and write a constant. Not function, factorial. Okay, what my factorial is going to do, it is going to simply calculate the factorial, whatever number I provide. So now, let me say const fact value or fact number equal to set fact number use state. I'll say the factorial of 5. Simple. So it will calculate the factorial of 5. Here return if my number is less than or equal to 0, return 1, else return the factorial of number into factorial of number minus 1. So this is a simple recursive function. What it will do, it will just keep calling the factorial function itself, okay, until and unless my number is less than 0. So if the number is less than 0, it will start returning 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 and 5 and so on. And it will keep on multiplying with all the numbers. Here we'll add a fact or fact value. Let me just, let's not make confusion, fact. So we are calling the function with the number. It should be called later. because of our strict mode. And again, we'll simply add a BR and we'll print in H5. I don't need a BR if I'm adding a H5. It's a block level element. Factorial of fact number is fact. So I'm doing nothing. Simply I'm calling the fact number, the value that we are passing, 5, and the factorial calculation. If we go here, see the factorial of 5 is 120, plain simple. We did nothing different. If we just pass like factorial of 4, it will just calculate the factorial of 4 is 24 and it will just give it to you. What is the factorial? 5. If I'm saying the factorial of 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, 120. If I'm saying factorial of 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So basically the number, and we go till multiply by 1. What is the factorial of 1? Simple, the factorial of 1 is 1. Let's see how many times my factorial, the function is getting called. Console.log factorial function called. Refresh. It's getting called 4 times. App.js. Oops. Let me go to my index.js. For now, I'll remove the strict mode because I don't want to keep rendering it again and again. If you remember our previous videos, use effect, in the debugging mode, my function or basically my component gets loaded twice. So now my function is getting loaded twice because there are 2 things. I'm calling it here and also it is checking over somewhere over here, and that's why it is getting called twice. That's okay. We are not doing anything wrong. But do we have anything to do in the factorial regarding my count function, right? Count variable, it has nothing to do, but still whenever I increase my count function, you can see my function is getting called again and again, right? Which is bad. I don't want my factorial function to be called, right? Because it has nothing to do with my counter. It is a simple function which returns a simple value. That's it. It gets called. It has nothing to do with my factorial anytime. Actually, why it is doing that? Why it is getting called multiple times? Let me see. Okay. If it is equal to 1, it should be called once. Fine. It was something related to factorial. Now, even if though I'm just increasing the value, it is continuously getting called. Now that is one of the issue. Counter has nothing to do with the factorial. Whenever counter is loaded, my component gets reloaded, my factorial function gets called. Issues, problems, and useMemo will come to your savior. So now useMemo is basically a savior here. Simply, if you remember the syntax, we have nothing to do, just import it. The first parameter is my function, correct? Remove the semicolon, comma. Second parameter is my dependency and my round bracket close. So now my factorial is only dependent on my factorial number, right? Whenever my factorial number is changed, then only basically you give a call to this function, or else don't call this function. But fact number has nothing to do with the factorial function. So my useMemo is not going to go here, but my useMemo is going to go where I am getting that value. Remember this. That's why I wrote it there. So useMemo will basically come here. Okay, because the dependency fact number, we are passing it here. So the function should be called only when my dependency changes, and my dependency is basically fact number. useMemo, import it. I don't need another line. You can do that, but I hate that. So useMemo, and I'm basically passing the function. Now this factorial useMemo needs a function. That's why it is throwing an error. It needs the function. The first parameter should be a function. Here we are just need to do this. That would work. Go here, refresh. The factorial function is called once. That's it. And if we do increase, my factorial function is not getting called. So basically, it should be called, the factorial function should be called only and only when my fact number, the state that I'm adding, is changing. So let's do that as well. I'll quickly add, let's say, an input tag. Okay, type equal to number. We have two things. It would be a controlled component. We have seen this fact number on change. I'm not going to write another handle. If you want, you can write, but we also have seen 3 ways we can add this function. How we can add a on change event, how we handle events. Sorry. So we have passed set fact number. Set fact number, it's small, right? Yes. And basically e dot target dot value. These two things, it will make my component controlled. A simple placeholder, set new number if anytime someone clears the number. So I have factorial 1, quickly refresh. See, the factorial function is called. Increasing the counter, it will not do anything, but if I just increase the value, my function is getting called. So whenever the value is changed of my component, okay, the function is getting called. This is how useMemo works. So memoization basically caches your function, okay, and it keeps it in the memory for some time until and unless the dependency changes. So whenever the dependency is changed, we call the function. This was a pretty simple and easy example. Both the examples were easy to understand memoization, but there is a huge drawback of, let me quickly show you. I think React also have mentioned it. You may rely on useMemo as a performance optimization, but not as a semantic guarantee. So even React says that we are not guaranteeing that it is going to improve your performance if you're not using it properly. You have to use it properly. So we should not use useMemo if your functions are smaller. Okay, if for example, even the factorial example that we were using, it is smaller. useMemo does a lot of things behind the scenes to cache this function, and React has to basically go through this dependency list, and there are a lot of things React works behind the scenes to make this optimization, to make this useMemo work. Hence, it is always recommended if you have a smaller function, okay, if you have a very simplistic function whose performance does not need it to be improvised, then we, or basically React, always recommends you to use simple functions and not use useMemo until and unless some complex function, if something which is a hefty function or some complex function, some complex logic is there. I hope I tried to make it as easy, as simple as possible, and there was something interesting you learned throughout these videos. But if you learned something, I would request you to please give us a thumbs. Okay, please subscribe to our channel. 90% of our viewers have not subscribed yet. Thank you so much. Keep subscribing.